Sup, creeps, and welcome back to another episode of Creepy Confidential. Today, I am bringing you another creepy campfire story, and today I present to you The Hunger of Winnebago. The tale takes place at Lake Winnebago, along the water's edge of Wisconsin. Maybe you've been there. The lake is big, calm, and peaceful most days. But a lake that size doesn't stay quiet without reason. Old waters don't forget, and sometimes they don't forgive. This tale goes back to the 1920s during Prohibition, when alcohol was illegal, but people would do anything to sell or get their fill of that bold amber liquid. And where there's desire, there's danger. Bootleggers, rum-runners, shady fishermen, you had all sorts crawling along these shores after dark. But there was something older here, lurking below the water's face, something watching, something hungry. The first strange happening started in the summer of 1923. Two sturgeon fishermen from Oshkosh, brothers Eli and Marcus, were hauling nets near the center of the lake before sunrise. Fog hugged the water so thick they could barely see the bow of their own boat. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the sudden and complete silence. No waves, no wind, just stillness in a lake that most often behaved like an ocean. Eli leaned over the side of the boat, squinting into the dark lake water. That's when he saw it. A shadow, long as the boat itself, gliding just beneath them. A shadow with glowing golden eyes that did not blink. Before either man could make a single scream, the shadow rolled and something large slammed the side of their boat. Their nets came up shredded, thick ropes sliced apart like strands of hair. They paddled back to shore, with their hands shaking so hard they dropped the oars twice. Marcus quit fishing forever. Eli drank himself to sleep for weeks. People said it was a giant sturgeon, and still to this day claim it just to be a trick of the fog, a drunk man's memory. But it wasn't the last sighting, not by a long shot. Around Menasha and Nina, folks living close enough to hear the waves could hear strange sounds haunting the shoreline after midnight. Deep, dragging groans rising from the lake, like something with lungs bigger than a barn exhaling beneath the water. Near the area of modern day Highcliffe Park, a group of kids were skipping rocks and they reported something watching them, large and dark, and sitting just offshore with only those same golden eyes just below the water. People shrugged it off. You know how it is. It's easy to ignore a monster if it hasn't taken someone you know. Yet. Long before bootleggers, long before the towns and railroad tracks and paved roads, the lake was watched by the Menominee people. Their elders told stories not meant to frighten, but to caution. The deep hunger, they called it. A spirit of the cold trenches, those hidden chasms carved under Winnebago during the last ice age. The creature slept in the darkest parts of the lake, places that sunlight never touched. The elders said that the deep hunger only woke when the balance of the lake was broken, usually by men who had taken too much. Greed, they'd say, is what stirs its belly, and Mahwāē never rises quietly. But in the 1920s, as in modern day, greed was everywhere. Rum running wasn't just some casual side job, it was a religion almost. Men drove across the frozen lake with trunks full of Canadian whiskey, gambling their lives for a few dollars and a warm night. And something followed them, a black shape under the ice, keeping pace, silent, waiting. One driver swore he saw teeth pressing beneath the ice right behind him. Teeth long and crooked like the tines of a pitchfork. He abandoned his car and ran 5 miles back to shore. The next morning, searchers found his Model T sunk straight through a clean, perfect circle in the ice. Like something pulled it through. But the story that sealed the fear into every local's bones is the one nobody likes to repeat. It happened in late November of 1927. There was a speakeasy, just a lakeside shack, run by a bootlegger named Harlan Pike. He hid whiskey inside gutted sturgeon to throw off the law. The place was lit by one lantern, always smelled of fish and gasoline. On that night, the fog rolled in so thick it swallowed the moon. Harlan was counting his money, humming to himself, when he heard something thump. A slow, heavy thud from beneath the floor. He thought maybe a big fish had hit the pilings somehow. Then the walls rattled, glass bottles clinked, the shack lifted an inch, just an inch, as though something gigantic had slid beneath it and just nudged it upward. Harlan froze. The lake below roared like something exhaling. He stepped outside onto the pier, lantern in hand. Barely cutting through, you could see light through the fog. But he could see the water churning, spiraling like a whirlpool. Something big was rising. And then the lake split. A head breached the surface. Not a fish, not anything natural. Its skull was plated with bone ridges like armor carved from driftwood. Its jaws opened sideways, an impossible, wide, prehistoric-looking creature with a mouth lined with spade-shaped teeth. Its golden eyes locked on Harlan, but Harlan felt it in his ribs. Then the pier shook. One post snapped, another tore free. The shack lurched, tipped, and with a noise like 100 boards cracking at once, it vanished beneath the lake, dragging straight down. They found exactly one wall 2 days later, and nothing of Harlan. Just the pier post gnawed through as if by enormous teeth. But the sightings didn't stop. Dark, watery shadows moving near the shores of Oshkosh, ripples with no wind, and something brushing boats long enough to tip them. One night in 1928, an entire row of sturgeon cages washed up on shore. Twisted metal bent like wire. The Menominee elders only said, "Mahwāē has fed well."